5 o'clock. All right. It should be on. Got a green light?
Are you sick? Nothing has changed since the last month, so I don't know if that's yes or no. Sick of it though. I hope it wasn't what you had.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. I want to call this meeting of the Topeka Development Corporation Board of Directors, call it to order. If the body would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance before roll call. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board Clerk, if you'll call roll.
All right, Board President Padilla,
Here.
Vice President Dobler,
Here.
Directors Valdivia Aquila,
Here.
Hiller,
Here.
Ortiz.
She was on.
There she is.
There she is. Director Ortiz.
Sylvia, you're on mute, I think.
Here. Banks,
Here.
Hill,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Duncan,
Here.
and Hofer. All right, we have 9 present.
Okay, move on to item number 4 on the agenda. Madam Clerk.
First item is approval of the October 1, 2024 meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Okay, motion to approve by Director Dobler. Is there a second? Second by Director Kell. If you call the roll, please.
Board President Padilla,
Yes.
Vice President Dobler,
Yes.
Directors Valdivia Aquila,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
and Duncan.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
Move on to item number 5. Board Clerk.
5 is adoption of the 2025 operating budget for Hotel Topeka.
Okay. I think Braxton, I have you on my agenda to recognize you as the project manager.
Yes, sir. So you'll remember last year, which was our first experience with Hotel Topeka and the operating budget, the management company proffered a budget to us that had a net operating loss forecast for 2024 of $396,000. Over the course of the year, they revised their forecast to a net operating loss of $1.2 million. As of October, we were at about $900,000. October 31st, we were at right at $900,000 loss for the year to date. So we are on track to hit that $1.2 million loss. What was initially proposed for the 2025 budget was a much more realistic number, which was a $940,000 loss, which is basically about $260,000 less than what we're expected to experience this year. RevPAR and myself did have a conversation with GF Hotels to see if, basically to challenge them. We're always trying to challenge them to be cautiously optimistic in terms of trying to push to rent more rooms, to try to cut expenses. And so after that conversation with them, they did come back with approximately $70,000 of cuts. They provided me that spreadsheet yesterday, which I shared with you. Basically, we're looking at approximately $49,000 of cuts in terms of labor, as well as some subscriptions dues, about $12,000, and then they also are looking at potentially seeking more revenue from damage to units, approximately $9,000 in additional transient revenue. Transient revenue, basically, in the hotel industry, the terms of art are transient, which means that you have a group of 10 or less versus group, which is a group of 10 or more. So group revenue versus transient revenue. So challenging themselves for that. So what we have in front of you at this tick of the clock is a net operating budget for 2025 forecasted a loss of $869,000. With that, I would, obviously, I would prefer to have a budget that did not have an operating loss, but I'm, in terms of, I don't want to put a budget like we had last year without the experience of having operated it for a year of $400,000 loss, and then mid-year come in and say, no, it's going to operate at a $1.2 million loss. As we have discussed, absent changes substantial to the hotel in terms of improvement to give us something to book and to get more revenue, it is what it is. It's not pretty, but I'm just being straight up honest with you. This is, in my opinion, the best that we're going to get in terms of our budget with the current condition of the hotel and the number of groups that have told us that given the condition of the hotel and the condition of Manor, they are choosing not to do their events here, and they are choosing other markets. So with that, I would respectfully request approval of the 2025 operating budget for Hotel Topeka.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? Council, Board Member Heller.
Thank you. Kind of a linked question. Do you see any prospects? I appreciate a cautious budget that's the budget to beat instead of to fail at, so know that. Do you think there's a chance that this, with some work on the part of the staff, I know city manager's been involved in getting some events going over there, this and that and the other thing, that we could beat this budget related and or get the hotel sold before the end of the year?
The end of this year,
25.
I'm cautiously optimistic that we should be able to market and sell the hotel in 2025. I will tell you that this budget does contain an additional 2,600 room nights. So this budget is, again, cautiously optimistic in terms of not wanting the staff to just basically coast. We're basically saying, hey, we know we've got challenges, but let's try to maximize profit, minimize loss. Let's try to, I mean, they did get another hotel derby event, or a demolition derby event in July. So that's going to be some additional room nights. They are working, our manager in the sales department meets monthly with Stormont Vale and to talk about how we can leverage the hotel to help market events. So we're trying to do what we are. I mean, Jennifer, bless her, has a tough job, right? So, yeah, cautiously optimistic by the end of 2025 we can get this hotel marketed and sold. We're going to have to provide some incentives, but.
Thank you. Thank you.
Director Banks.
Braxton, I wonder if we have a way for checks and balances on staff, the way they treat people, stuff, those types of things, because when we were up there last week, I got some negative feedback from someone that lives in there. Do you have a way that we can?
Absolutely. Any negative feedback that you get, please provide that to me so that I can have that conversation with the general manager as well as with the SVP of operations for GF Hotels.
I will. Thank you, Braxton. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Director Dober.
Thank you, Mr. President. I asked at the last meeting about contact with the county to discuss Maynard Conference Center and what the future looks like for improvements there. I think we just heard that it's one of the two reasons people are not booking hotel nights there. Any movement on that? You don't have to go into detail. I just want to know if somebody's talking to the county.
Mr. City Manager or Director Manager?
Director Dobler, we have asked for meetings with the County Commission on a few occasions, and we have been unsuccessful in being able to obtain that meeting. There's, I think, some details that we can probably share a little bit later in executive session. You'd be okay with that?
That's fine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I will go ahead and support this because we've got to have a budget to run the hotel, but I'm going to continue to push for conversations with the county. They've got to happen. A month ago or so, we were talking about can't do anything until elections. Elections are over, so let's get something going. Thank you.
If I may, I think Director Ortiz.
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Braxton, you know, I had a thought. Have we reached out to Washburn to see if we can, I don't know, do something to, you know, they bring in a lot of football players, and they bring in a lot of basketball players and their parents and families. If we could reach out to see if we can kind of cut a deal with them as well for staying there? Have that conversation?
So I can certainly ask Jennifer to reach out to Washburn to have that conversation. I know that City Manager Perez has spoken with the Chancellor, and it was that conversation that directly led to the pop-up Halloween party in terms of providing a venue for Washburn students. So I can certainly have Jennifer reach out to Washburn, particularly their athletic department, just to offer and just remind them that there's a great hotel just down the street from their university.
Have we also reached out to the hospitals, you know, like the traveling nurses that are always looking for places to stay as well?
So the conversations that I've had with the SVP of operations for GF is that typically that is a slightly different market where they are actually looking for long-term housing in something that would be more of an apartment-like. So think about the apartments that were converted at the Ramada Hotel, where they actually have a kitchen in the unit as opposed to a hotel where you would have to purchase meals or purchase ready-made food to put in your microwave as opposed to having a refrigerator, a sink, a kitchen when you're in that sort of long-term look. I mean, I know that they try to be as creative as possible in terms of looking for transient and group income.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Director Kell?
On top of the county meeting, I would like the Oakview Group, which is the managing of the arena and that other space around there, at that meeting also, because to me, it's going to take all of us working together to try to work something out. You know, to me, we have certain events that are kind of staples at the arena, like the children's wrestling, all the Blizzard Bash, the rodeo on New Year's Eve, but beyond that, they're not drawing that events there, and I think with all of us put our heads together, we can work something and try to get some more events at the expo, which in turn turns more rooms in the hotel.
Director Duncan?
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, and I'll be a little more direct, and you can play this for them later at the county if you need to. I mean, look, the reason we haven't sold the hotel at this point is not solely because of the issues relating to Maynard. I want to make that very clear, right? It's been one of many pieces as we've tried to put this puzzle together to get us there. But we are reaching a point where our ducks are much in a row to start to look next year, as Mr. Copley said, to sell this hotel. And one of those last pieces is going to be the status and future of Maynard Conference Center. And so I guess my message to the county is, and if I need to amend this statement later from information I learned, then I will be happy to do so. But I guess my message as a council person in my county counterparts is, we need you to come to the table and help us find resolution, because it will become a stumbling block to us being able to sell that. And so please, we're here to negotiate, and I want the people of Topeka to understand that that's a piece of us being able to sell this hotel, to make it happen. So to the folks at the county, I know there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of considerations, but we've got to find resolution on that issue. Otherwise, interested buyers, just, understandably so, are going to struggle to know whether they should buy the property or not. So, thank you, Mayor.
Anyone for Director Hiller?
That's it. I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but let me just share across the table, since people have brought it up, that it's premature to share specifics right now, but I had a very, very positive conversation with a county representative within the last few days, and so I think there is some good movement occurring.
Well, I appreciate that. It would help if we have, at least within this board, some idea of where that conversation is going to take us. I don't know that this is the appropriate time to do that, but, okay. There has been a request. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved to approve by Director Duncan. We need a second. Second by Director Dobler. If you'll call the roll, please.
Board President Padilla,
Yes.
Vice President Dobler,
Yes.
Directors Valdivia Acala,
No.
Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
No.
Banks,
No.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Hofer.
Yes.
All right, we have 7 yes. The motion carries with Directors Valdivia Acala, Ortiz, and Banks voting no.
Great. Thank you for your votes and the discussion. Move on to number 6. Madam Clerk?
6 is approval of an additional funding request in the amount of $72,343.54 for operations and maintenance of Hotel Topeka, contingent upon governing body approval of the transfer of the funds to the Topeka Development Corporation.
Mr. Copeland, Director Copeland.
So this item is a operations funding request. GF Hotels accounting group looks at projected revenue and expenses over the next 2-month horizon. Based on their forecast, they have made a request for a total of $208,000. We had previous authority left over for $136,000, so our delta is $72,000. So our request to you is for $72,000 of additional authority to be able to make the payment of $208,000 for this funding request. I will tell you, having earlier we had done these in $500,000 tranches, so that would allow us to do a couple of funding requests. So this will put us in the position where we will have 0 authority after this, which means that when we get the next request and under the operating agreement, we have 10 days to do it. I will be asking for putting action, a TDC meeting and council action to put that funding request before you in that time. I am cautiously optimistic that we can get through December and hopefully January. Those are our 2 slowest months of the year, but you still have taxes, insurance, utilities, minimal labor. Staff are cut back to minimum hours. If they have PTO, they're encouraged to take that off. We have managers basically working the front desk, managers working events to minimize the expenses to keep our labor costs down as low as possible during these next couple of months. So that's where we are. I would respectfully ask for the request to fund the additional $72,000. This will be, of course, conditioned upon the governing body approving the resolution for the $72,000 during the council meeting. And happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Any questions, Director Duncan?
Just make 2 quick comments. First is I'm going to support this because we have a contractual obligation to do so. This gets us to that, and I'm not going to put us in any sort of legal liability situation with contracts that we have. But second of all, just, and Braxton knows this, I'm mostly saying this for public consumption, just a reminder, if that situation you mentioned comes up, we can do these backwards. In other words, if we have a council meeting before we have a board meeting and you need that approval, the council can always approve the funds, and this board can then either choose to reject or accept those funds. You can always do that if we run into that timeline situation in 10 days, so we need to schedule it that way. So just want to throw that out there. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve from the board?
So moved.
Have a motion to approve by Director Duncan. Need a second? Second by Director Hiller. If you call the roll, please.
Board President Padilla,
Yes.
Vice President Dobler,
Yes.
Directors Valdivia Aquila, sorry.
No.
Hiller,
Yes.
Ortiz,
No.
Banks,
No?
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Hoper.
Yes.
All right, we have 7 yes with, the motion carries with Directors Valdivia Aquila, Ortiz, and Banks voting no.
Okay, thank you. And I have here on the agenda that there is a need for an executive session if our city attorney.
The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 35 minutes to discuss data related to the financial affairs or trade secrets of one or more corporations as allowed under KSA 7543-19B4. The open meeting will resume in the City Council chambers. The following individuals will be necessary to assist the board in its deliberations: City Manager Perez and any other staff members the TDC board finds useful.
Okay. We have heard the need for an executive session. Is there a motion to go into session?
I'll move to go into session.
Okay. Director Miller and a second by Director Kell to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We will recess immediately into executive session. We have completed our deliberations and discussions during executive session. There being no further business to come before the CID, the Topeka Development Corporation, and there is no one here for public comment. This meeting of the TDC is adjourned.